Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this. Hi, I'm Chef Joe Seminara with Taste This Television, here with another great show today. And before we do our usual cooking steak and fish and all this fun stuff, we like to go and talk about the sponsors' products we're going to be working with. Now, starting today, we're working with Kettle and Fire. Now, this is a bone beef broth. If you haven't tried this, run. As a matter of fact, stop what you're doing, run to the store, and grab this stuff. This will make anything that you're cooking taste that much better. Now, unlike other beef broths, which they're loaded with sodium and things you can't pronounce, this is the real deal stuff. Talking about what we used back, thousands of years ago with the slow simmered broth and bones and coming down and getting that gelatinous kind of feel, what's good for your bones, your teeth, your skin. Kettle and Fire, two brothers. This is their story. They decided not to go to college so they can get you the best beef broth in the world, and they've done it. So now we're going to do a couple of things with that product, and we're really going to get into making our beef broth and consommes. And I do sort of like a consomme kind of soup. I combine the consomme with the traditional kind of beef broth, but I also put chunks of vegetables and everything in there, and I leave the stuff in there to kind of marinate and bold, nice flavors. Now, we also have this other company that we're going to be talking about. We talk about what to do with paper bags, recycled bags, plastic bags. I mean, the world is just giving away way too many bags. I mean, you go into the supermarket and how many tens of thousands of people shop there a week. What do they do with all these bags? They go right in the pail. They're not recycled. This is a great way to stop that. And the company's name is June's. And June's does an incredible bag, but it's almost like a designer bag when you look at it. It's not like your traditional dummied up plastic, hard, ugly looking bag. This is actually nice. I wouldn't mind walking around the store with it, and I do. As you can see, I picked up all my vegetables today. We got our onions, our leeks, our beautiful tomatoes and peppers and figs. And I also got, which I put this bag to the test as far as its durability. I got myself an 18-pound watermelon right here. And you can see the solid structure of the bag. And I put wine in there as well. But it's great for like giving gifts. Like you don't even have to ask this back. You can turn the whole world onto using this type of bag. Just giving them the whole thing like that. Really good story behind this. I mean, the company is just solid when it comes to helping unfortunate women all around the world and just giving to a great cause. June's is not only making designer bags that could take the place of throwing out bags all over the world and just a complete waste cycle, but they're helping the world doing it as well. So check them out, June's. It's the only bag I walk into a supermarket when I'm shopping. Now, a couple of things we're going to do today. We're going to use Kettle and Fire in both recipes. And you might be saying, is he really going to use a boned beef broth in a fish dish? Absolutely, because the flavor is going to be great. You've heard of surf and turf. Now you got Kettle and Fire, and then you got the wonderful combination of the seafood. It's all about marinating flavors, and this flavor is going to work well with this. It's also going to be a great thickener as well. It's going to be a flavor enhancer. So why don't we start with the beef, because it's going to take the most time. So what we're going to do is we have some scallions we're not going to do anything with right now, but I do have some leeks, and I'm going to use the bottom part of the leek. And we're going to start off by just taking a little bit of olive oil. Now, with any dish and most dishes that I like to do half butter, half olive oil. One of the reasons why is I like to cook at high temperatures, as you see here, and I don't want to just use butter because it will burn. So we're going to take a nice stick of butter in there. We're going to put that in there, let it marinate itself. Next, we got some garlic here. And one garlic clove is going to be great. As you notice, I like to smash my garlic. Gets the skin off the garlic really quick, and it releases a lot of the flavors and the wonderful aromas of the actual garlic going into the dish. Next, we're going to take some carrots. I don't peel my carrots. I wash them good, scrub them on the outside. I do that because I like that rustic kind of feel and look when you add your carrots to a dish. So I'm not too big on like, hey, let's peel a carrot and take 2/3 of it off. I want to do one or two things. Be cost conscious with the food, and at the same time, just be realistic. You don't need to start shaving a carrot to get it clean. All right, so now we have the basis of everything in here, and it's going good. You can see it bubbling nicely, and you can see how that butter really plays the tune in there. It's like everybody has their own kind of symphony orchestra of food, and this is kind of how I like to start mine off. All right, now with that, we might walk over to our veg bag here and decide we're going to pull out a yellow pepper. Why? Because we just want to do it. So we take a piece of that yellow pepper off, and I want it because it's color. I want it because maybe it is going to add to that garden jardinage flavor, that fresh vegetable kind of flavor in the dish. And when it comes to how thick or how big or small you should cut something, well, you don't want to cut it any bigger than the sizes of the meat. So your vegetables should never be bigger than the protein. Even though there are no rules, there are some secrets. All right, we got some beef here, right? We're going to pre-season it. Just because I like to do it like that's a habit. All right, we got a little salt on that baby. We got a little fresh black pepper. And if you know anything about Taste This TV, we don't use any dry herbs unless absolutely necessary, depending on what the dish we are. Especially, we don't use any black pepper that's been ground and put in a tin can anywhere. We don't play those types of games. Okay. Filet mignon, combination of New York strip and ribeye. I'm going to use them all because they all have different flavors. What I like about the ribeye, obviously, is you have that incredible flavor from the fat that's going to go into the beef. Is you have this filet mignon, which is very lean and has zero fat, but it's going to be very chewable. It's not going to be rubbery at all. You're going to have a nice bite texture to it. And there is that little grizzle part in the center, depending on who's cut your filet mignon. You don't want that in there. All right, throwing the beef down and dirty in there. I can almost smell the aromas coming up and saying, eat me, eat me. And this pottery here is earth-born pottery, right? Listen to this stuff. Talk about incredible ceramic. Like, I'm cutting on this. No scratching. Do this all day long. I mean, this is no joke. Check them out. And again, you want the pieces no bigger than the other ones that you just put in there. This is looking good. And I want the fat in there. It's going to just bleed out into flavor. Okay, we're going to wash our hands. We don't want any cross-contamination on that baby. All right, we're going to take a final stir through this and see if we're missing anything. And that's right. We're going to hit it with some of this Kettle and fire. We're going to get down like that because we're cooking. Well, if you're wondering how to get Kettle and fire, it's mostly sold online at bonebroths.com. Check them out. All right, now it's time to deglaze with a little bit of wine. I like to use a white wine. Many people are going to say, you should have used a red. Too acidic. I know what I'm doing. A little bit of wine. And what we're looking for is just to deglaze, right? We're looking to get the sweetness from the wine. We don't want to drown it. All right, now watch what we do now. Because this baby is all about done, pretty much. Take your Kettle and fire. And you're going to fill the top of it. And just as everything gets submerged in the boned beef broth, my friends, you are done. The only thing left to do with that is to get those scallions in there when that baby's done. I have a little sanitizer rag down here. Okay. Sanitize the board. Clean up. Make sure you don't want any cross-contamination. Now, we got a little while till that baby's ready to go. And we're not going to add the scallions to the very end because that's just how we do it here. Now, hot pan, we have our salmon here, right? Now, salmon, there's Alaska, there's coho, there's this, there's that, there's Copper River, there's a million kinds of salmon. Stay with wild-caught Alaska salmon. You can't go wrong. All right, now we got this salmon, right? And as I mentioned, the best to use is going to be wild-caught Alaska salmon. It's got a more of a reddish kind of color. It was raised wild. I mean, that's kind of how you want to eat your food. You don't want farm-raised, you know? All right, so now we're going to take the salmon. And a sushi chef taught me this, that just to get an even sear, especially when I stack food up on the plate like I usually do. And we're going to do about, I don't know, 4 or 5. We got a hungry crew here today. And what we're going to do is just take the salmon like this. I'm going to season it. Salt, a little black pepper. And again, I'll probably use white pepper on some kind of white fish, but with salmon, perfectly fine to do a little cracked black pepper. Now, what I'm going to do is the same technique I showed you before. A little bit of oil. Or my grandmother used to say a little Earl. And a little bit of butter. All right, now we're going to take this salmon and put it down. And just as I'm doing this, I feel like singing opera, but I'm going to try to control myself. Now look at these scallops. These are large sea scallops. Now if you know anything about scallops, you have to take this part right here off because it becomes pretty chewy. And since I seasoned it already in the pan, I'm not too quick to season the scallops. Make sure you take this muscle here off. Put the scallops in the plate. And again, same thing. I'm going to go and wash my hands. Now, we're looking good. We're looking good. Our beef broth looks good. Our salmon dish looks great. We can get rid of our cutting board here. We don't need it any longer. What we're going to do is just kind of turn this salmon over. We got one thing about these bags that are really good is I put my utensils in here as well, too. Turn our salmon over. And now's the time to turn the salmon over, because if you wait a little longer, it's not going to be this pliable. It's just going to start breaking off. And at this point, we are not going to touch it at all. We're not going to turn the scallops around to the very end because we want to char on that. Next, now we need something in this whole body here to give it a little texture, so we're going to take this scallion. And this time we're going to cut it on a bias. So it gives it that Japanese, Asian look. We're going to put it around like that. And at this point, you could have taken some lobsters, thrown some lobsters in there as well, too. Watch what I do. I grab the kettle and fire. It's good stuff. And there you go. Just when you start to hear that shh explosion, you're good. Now, the aroma that comes off this baby is incredible. And I'm not going to let this go too good. I mean, if you know me and you've watched the show, I don't eat well done anything. You know, like this fish is ready to go for daddy. Now take a look at that sear on the scallops. Beautiful, right? Now, at the same time, we got some watercress here, right? Watercress, lettuce, greens, whatever you want to call it. We got some salt. Now, I keep it real simple. Salt is a big component of what I do with my greens. Himalayan salt, sea salt, fleur de sel, you name it. Salt all over the map. I've had them all. Black salt, this salt, you name it. This salt right here is a regular Mediterranean sea salt. It's extra fine. We're going to use a little cracked black pepper. And yes, there is a lot of difference in the different sauces. Salts. I mean, there are many people out there that actually grill on these big blocks of salt as well. I got an argument with that, and we won't go into it today, but I'd much rather a cedar plank or something like that, like a wood kind of smoky flavor. This is looking good. See how everything is just coming down to almost like a burnt butter, a brunoise. All right, now we got our beef broth is looking good. We got this. We're going to hit it with a little oil, olive oil, right? We always use an olive oil. We want to stay away from what when we talk about oils? Canola, sunflower, those types of oils, those man-made olive oils, those man-made oils, are going to be nasty for you. You definitely want to stick to a high cold-pressed olive oil for good health. And that's it. I don't even put an acid most of the time because I figure if you're going to eat your food slow, you don't want your greens wiltering, and they wilter because you put the vinegar on it or the lemon juice or what have you. All right, so our greens are looking good. So let's say we took this plate right here. It's definitely not the plate I probably would have used, but we'll use it anyway. And we just put some greens down beautifully on the plate. Now you notice the longer we go, the more this is looking like a thick pan gravy. That's what we want. I'm going to take our salmon, take our scallops, our salmon, that's right, scallops, you guessed it. All right. And what you want to do is take all this sauce and these incredible scallions, put it over the top. This has a burnt, nutty flavor that we want. It also has the flavor of the bean broth. So when people are saying, wow, how could he do that? We just did. We just did, folks. All right, it's one dish right there, down and dirty. Now, we're going to put some finishing touches on this beef broth that we said here. If you get a shot in there, I mean, you can't smell it, but, you know, we didn't drown this in wine, but we have this deep, rich wine flavor that we're really looking for. And these scallions are going to be cut very, very, very fine because I want them to float to the top of the soup. So with a sharp knife, because you've always heard me say before in the past, you always get cut with a dull knife before you get cut by a sharp knife, because the dull knife will pull everything into it. And this knife isn't even the sharpest. All right. Now, I'm going to put our beef broth in there. Do I have some sort of a ladle or a spoon? Yes, I do. Like a woman carries their makeup bag with them. A chef carries their toolkit. That's just how it goes. Now look at the colors. Look at the colors. Look at the flavor. The flavor is incredible. You could do noodles. It wouldn't be good for the paleo diet, but it would add some carbs on your hips as well. Now we're going to take a little bit of the scallions and put it on top. All right, so let's just quickly recap what we did here because we went fast and I don't want to lose anyone. Now, let's start off with the fish. We took our salmon. I talked to you about how important it is to use maybe like a Alaskan wild-caught salmon. Very, very different. A friend of mine, I remember, he went to Alaska many years back, and he says, I'm going to send you some salmon in the mail. And this is like when I was starting off as a chef. And I get the salmon. It was red. And I said, this isn't salmon. And he said, why not? And I said, it's not orange. And he says, no, this is wild-caught Alaska salmon. This is true salmon. It hasn't been fed any color pebbles or anything, or any of that other crap, you know, that you might see out there. And it was the best flavored fish I ever had. And you have Copper River salmon. You have coho salmon, which is only available a few months or a couple of months out of the year. You know, the coho salmon's a good fish, but it doesn't have any fat content. It's a very lean fish. So you might have to serve that with something. I mean, I've taken coho salmon and taken lardons, which are almost like bacon fat or what have you. I baked it on the top of coho salmon just to get that fat flavor on top so it doesn't taste so dry. But other than that, I mean, that fish is on the money. The problem that you see is who had it frozen the longest. You know, coho salmon's great. Like I had this guy I used to deal with, Sunnykin Oli. He was Sunny Seafood out in Seattle. And this guy used to send me Dungeness crabs still moving. Like anything he could catch over there, he would put bubble wrap and it would last. It would last a trip. And he would overnight it to me and I would get this incredible fish still like basically alive. Just incredible difference in flavor. I mean, you could be sitting on a piece of fish that has been caught months ago. And, you know, good luck with that flavor, you know. A lot of stuff gets frozen. You don't want to try to avoid that, you know, when you're doing your thing. All right, so we have our coho salmon here. Actually, this is Alaska salmon. We have our scallions. The beef and bone broth is really where we want it to. It's over watercress, if you're wondering what that is. And then we got our beef broth here. Look at it. Look at how thick it marinated itself beautifully. The bone broth cooked down to the point where it became almost thick to a certain consistency. And then we have our filet mignon, our New York strip, and our ribeye. Thank you for watching this fun-filled episode of Taste This TV. I'm your host, Chef Joe Ciminera. Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.